more signs that things are going well for Bernie Sanders?
Things are going very, very well for Bernie Sanders.
So since Bernie Sanders is doing very well in polling, even cable news can't ignore it. So I'm going to show you 3 different clips here, one from MSNBC, 2 from CNN, that show you them actually acknowledging Bernie's popularity. Clips like this are rare, but they do happen.
Different focus groups that we have done with so many different segments of the electorate. And even if it's a Republican, sometimes you'll hear, well, you know, I still really like Bernie Sanders. They can be a hardcore Trump supporter. I like Bernie Sanders. He's honest. I might disagree with his policy, but they see Bernie Sanders as honest. And we're seeing that wide appeal. Right now, he's peaking at the right moment, and I agree with you. I think given that in 2016 he came so close to winning in Iowa, if his organization really turns out, he's in a great position.
Well, half the voters voted for him roughly last time. It was a squeaker, Donna. And even half the half are still with him. And I think a lot more than that will still. Once you vote for somebody, you're probably going to do it again. And the other thing is 2/3 of the voters of Iowa are either identify themselves as liberal or very liberal. The moderate and conservative piece is only 1/3. So if Biden sweeps it, he only gets 33. Bernie can get 33 by getting 2/3 of the third. So I should ask you the question. Bernie right now. It seems to be hotter and hotter.
Well, it does. And I do think that, you know, part of it, as Elise says, is really about his consistency. I think one thing that voters really appreciate is that you are who you are. And I think people are beginning to see that with Bernie. But the other thing that's still a concern for voters is, can you really beat Donald Trump? And I think at the end of the day, when they go into that booth and nobody's looking, it's not going to be a polling question. That's going to be the last question they ask themselves before they cast their ballot.
I wonder with this whole impeachment question, I want to get back to the other panel members, has changed the question away a bit from who can beat Trump to what do we think of Trump right now? How mad are we at Trump right now? And maybe something's going on here because Bernie is rising. We all know this. He's rising. He is rising.
So a few comments here. It's funny to see these people so just now realizing it. Like, how long have I been talking about Bernie's ability to be the nominee in 2020? Since he lost in 2016, I've been talking about this. All you have to do is look at the power of his movement. The fact that he was able to close a 60-point gap to Hillary Clinton in the primary in 2016. I mean, if that primary lasted like 2 months longer, I think he would have won. So it's all about like him having, that was really the beginning, and him being able to build that for 4 years up till now. Like, it's amazing. These people are paid millions of dollars and they didn't see this coming, and they're all just surprised that Bernie has this kind of support, that he's able to speak to people of all different kinds of political ideas, like or political allegiances. Like, Bernie really has this cross appeal, and a lot of it is because he's also able to speak to people that are largely apolitical, people that aren't really into politics all that much, because generally they've seen politicians just lie to their faces over and over and over again. But then they see someone like Bernie Sanders and they can go back to the 80s and he's saying the exact same thing that he's saying now. That is so rare in a politician. That kind of authenticity, that kind of consistency is so incredibly rare. And they touch on that here. But then, of course, they have to go to the electability argument and act like, oh, but is he electable? I mean, I think voters are really worried about electability right now. I mean, what else is there to say? How many times do I have to talk about Bernie's electability? He's able to bring people out that don't normally vote. So the people that came out in 2016 will come out in 2020 regardless to vote against Donald Trump. But Bernie is able to appeal to people that did not come out in 2016. Young voters, progressive independents, typical non-voters, working class people. He's able to speak to this large group of people that don't normally vote, like 40% of the country that doesn't normally vote. He can bring a lot of those people out in a general election. That is his strength. He is the most electable candidate in this race, and it's not even close. Let's get to the next clip, shared by Case Study QB. This is CNN.
And I think your point about the undecideds is key. I mean, I think what we see in a lot of this information is Bernie Sanders is consolidating that liberal base right now in a really important way. And in our national poll this week, we had seen month after month battling it out with Warren. Now he's actually got a pretty significant advantage. And I think a lot of those undecided voters, as they're thinking about, again, their number one priority, they tell us all the time on the trail when we're out there reporting, a Trump defeater. We want to find somebody that can beat Donald Trump. And that has been a Joe Biden advantage. And maybe now it's also becoming a Bernie Sanders advantage for those like-minded Democrats on that side of the party with Bernie.
And Bernie Sanders has a lot of money.
No doubt.
So
The
he
ability to
can,
raise more.
right, the ability,
From
this
these
gives him
small
the ability.
individual donors.
Nothing
Yeah.
succeeds like success, as they say. And if people think you're the front runner, they may jump on board. And he's got, while he's here in D.C., he has a lot of money to
And he's been unloading that money on television
and he
screens in
has
Iowa
been.
and New Hampshire.
Exactly.
And he's got a fairly diverse coalition. You remember last go around, he had trouble gaining support from African Americans, support from Latinos as well. This time he's doing much better. Young folks also like him. So this looks like a candidate. I mean, he wasn't able to do it last go around, but he's got much more of a broad coalition than he had before.
I'm just saying, impeachment is Bernie Sanders' best friends because it is sucking the air out of everything. And if you have the momentum and everything gets sucked up, the inertia carries you.
That's
and
right.
So he's in a great place right now just to let things drift in his direction until next Tuesday.
It's a smart observation because it's not where the poll numbers are. It's where,
Where they're
it's
headed.
where they're going.
Where they're headed.
Even Rick Santorum, even Rick Santorum gets it right. So this has actually been I guess, unseen benefit of impeachment is that because Bernie's ground game is so strong, because he has so much grassroots support and incredible surrogates like AOC, like Michael Moore, like Ilhan Omar, like Rashida Tlaib, like Nina Turner, he's able to be stuck in the Senate during this impeachment trial, and it's not going to impact him because he has all of this incredible on-the-ground support built in. Whereas it's going to hurt Elizabeth Warren because she doesn't have that same kind of support that he does. So this is, and also in addition to that, the media being so focused on the impeachment trial means that they have less time to manufacture attacks on Bernie Sanders. So it's actually been beneficial to him. One more clip, also from CNN and also from Case Study QB. This is let me just play it and then I'll react.
All right. In terms of the Democratic primary,
Yes.
there is more polling, more signs that things are going well for Bernie Sanders.
Things are going very, very well for Bernie Sanders. Look at this. In New Hampshire, the second contest, the first primary. Look at this. Now he's up to 29%, clearly leading the field. That's up 14 points. That is a surge going way, way up there. Bernie Sanders in New Hampshire, remember, he won it last time. Not out of the question he wins it again. In fact, he is favored there right now.
Something's surging. How about Iowa?
Take a look here. Iowa.
I don't think you could say that on TV.
You just did say it. You just
Energy
said it.
level,
Look at
energy
this.
level.
In Iowa, take a look here. You know, the average of the last CNN poll and the Monmouth U poll. What do we see? Bernie Sanders up 5 points. Pete Buttigieg going down into the basement in Iowa, falling through the cracks. So it's another early state. You win Iowa and you win New Hampshire. That's a very tough train to really stop. And we also see it. We spoke about it yesterday nationally. From late October, in Harry's average, up from 16% in late October, up to 21% now. So Iowa, New Hampshire, Iowa, Bernie Sanders up in all of them. And that, my friends, is a sign of a surge. Something is happening in the Democratic primary.
Just to say this again, you can imagine Bernie Sanders winning both Iowa and New Hampshire, and candidates who do that usually go on to win the
nomination. So I gotta say, that guy's enthusiasm was pretty awesome. You don't normally see that when Bernie Sanders is doing well. But everything there was, just spot on. He's looking really well in the polls right now in the early states. If he wins Iowa and wins New Hampshire, that will add to his momentum. So this is also what's important, not even just about him winning those states, but about coverage like this, showing polls like this, is that a lot of people are still undecided voters. People that are largely apolitical, but they want to hitch the ride to the winning candidate. So if they see, hey, Bernie Sanders is doing well, I like Bernie Sanders. He has the highest favorables, so most people like Bernie Sanders. I like Bernie Sanders, so I guess I'm going to support him because he's the winner. Like, that's how people think. In 2016, a lot of Hillary support came from that. People thought, well, she's going to win anyways. I might as well back the winner. And they endorsed her, or they voted for her in the primary. So if you have that now working in Bernie's favor, you are going to bring in a lot of undecided voters. So that's why coverage like this is important, and especially if he wins these states, I mean, obviously even more important. So let's hope he can do as well in the early states as it's looking right now.